Yo. Shh. Gotta keep it quiet because I got company around, guys. In the home. But I hope you guys are doing well. Today, we're going to be reacting to how to think critically. I have a couple of videos that I want to watch. So without further ado, let's get into it.
The best way to teach people critical thinking is to teach them to write. And I made this little thing that I put online. I don't know if is it in the Psych 434 website? Did I post that rubric for essay writing?
But I don't think it actually went through. I think it is still on 430. That's how I got
Is it not on 434? Is that not working?
It must not have gone through when you were doing it.
Oh.
Yeah. But I still found it. It's still in 430.
Oh, okay. Well, there's an essay. Oh, that's too bad. It's not on the Psych 434 website even? Because I updated it. Anyways, I have this guide to writing that if it isn't on the 434 website, it is definitely on the 430 website. And it steps people through the process of writing. Because what's happened now, it's very hard to teach people to write because it's unbelievably time intensive. And like marking a good essay, that's really easy. Check A. You did everything right. Marking a bad essay? Oh my God. The words are wrong, the phrases are wrong, the sentences are wrong, they're not ordered right in the paragraphs aren't coherent, and the whole thing makes no sense.
Are you guys good at writing? I want to be good, but for the life of me, sentence structure is a pain in the butt. I just misspell words and all types of stuff. But that's why I'm trying to watch thought-provoking videos on YouTube so I can become a more competent person and writer. I want to be, hopefully what I'm trying to accomplish is to become more competent, to become better, to be more entertaining, and to be talkative, and to have a wide range of to become knowledgeable. You know, it says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Well, that won't be me. I will not perish for a lack of knowledge.
So trying to tell the person what they did wrong, it's like, well, you did everything wrong. Everything about this essay is wrong. Well, that's not helpful either. You have to find the few little things they did half right, and you have to teach them what they did wrong. It's really expensive. And so what I did with this rubric was try to address that from the production side instead of the grading side. But the best thing you can do is teach people to write, because there's no difference between that and thinking. And one of the things that just blows me away about universities is that no one ever tells students why they should write something. It's like, well, you have to do this assignment. Well, why are you writing? Well, you need the grade. It's like, no, you need to learn to think, because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake, and those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly.
And that's what I want to be, man. You know what I'm saying? On some Ben Shapiro.
Nothing can get in your way. So that's why you learn to write. It's like, and I can't believe that people aren't just told that. It's like, it's the most powerful weapon you could possibly provide someone with. And I mean, I know lots of people who've been staggeringly successful and watched them throughout my life. I mean, those people, you don't want to have an argument with them. They'll just slash you into pieces. And not in a malevolent way. It's like, if you're going to make your point and they're going to make their point, you better have your points organized, because otherwise you're going to look like and be an absolute idiot. You are not going to get anywhere. And if you can formulate your arguments coherently and make a presentation, if you can speak to people, if you can lay out a proposal, God, people give you money, they give you opportunities, you have influence. That's what you're at university for. And so that's what you do, is you're in English, right? In languages anyways. It's like, yeah, teach people to be articulate, because that's the most dangerous thing you can possibly be. So, and that's motivating if people know that. It's like, well, why are you learning to write?
And that's what I want to be. You know, if you cross me, you get destroyed. But I'm a different type of person, man. I want to be able to learn with my friends. I know that sounds lame or whatever, but it's not. Like, with family or friends, and my family doesn't want to do this, that's why I'm doing it on YouTube. But I want to be able to learn with family and friends. Like, read books together, watch YouTube, good YouTube videos together, and read articles on all types of stuff. Stuff that'll make you more efficient, smarter, more intelligent, more knowledgeable up on stuff, on various topics. I'd say a few of them would be like metaphysics and hypnosis, stuff like that. Let's keep going.
Here's your sword. Here's your M16, right? Here's your bulletproof vest. Like, you learn how to use them. But it's an endless mystery to me why that isn't made self-evident. So that's the sort of thing that can drive you mad trying to sort out. It's like there's a conspiracy to bring people into the education system to make them weaker. So I guess that keeps the competition down. Maybe that's one way of thinking about it. If your students are stupid, they're not going to challenge you.
Now let's go to another critical thinking video. They just played this ad. I'm not cutting that out either.
Every day, a sea of decisions stretches before us. Some are small and unimportant, but others have a larger impact on our lives. For example, which politician should I vote for? Should I try the latest diet craze? Or will email make me a millionaire? We're bombarded with so many decisions that it's impossible to make a perfect choice every time. But there are many ways to improve our chances, and one particularly effective technique is critical thinking. This is a way of approaching a question that allows us to carefully deconstruct a situation, reveal its hidden issues, such as bias and manipulation, and make the best decision. If the critical part sounds negative, that's because, in a way, it is. Rather than choosing an answer because it feels right, a person who uses critical thinking subjects all available options to scrutiny and skepticism. Using the tools at their disposal, they'll eliminate everything but the most useful and reliable information. There are many different ways of approaching critical thinking, but here's one 5-step process that may help you solve any number of problems. 1. Formulate your question. In other words, know what you're looking for. This isn't always as straightforward as it sounds. For example, if you're deciding whether to try out the newest diet craze, your reasons for doing so may be obscured by other factors.
How are you guys when it comes to dieting and stuff? For me, I'm an all-in type of person. I'm not going to do it until I'm ready or until I have to. But I'm an all-in type of guy, so if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in with it. I'm going to get Dr. Sebi type food, no dairy, no bread, and when I'm really strict, no meat, and a high fruit, high vegetable diet. That's if you're really strict. I still think we need meat, you know. Meat made our brains bigger and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It claims that you'll see results in just 2 weeks. But if you approach the situation with a clear view of what you're actually trying to accomplish by dieting, whether that's weight loss, better nutrition, or having more energy, that'll equip you to sift through this information critically, find what you're looking for, and decide whether the new fad really suits your needs. 2. Gather your information. There's lots of it out there, so having a clear idea of your question will help you determine what's relevant. If you're trying to decide on a diet to improve your nutrition, you may ask an expert for their advice or seek other people's testimonies. Information gathering helps you weigh different options, moving you closer to a decision that meets your goal. 3. Apply the information, something you do by asking critical questions. Facing a decision, ask yourself, what concepts are at work? What assumptions exist? Is my interpretation of the information logically sound? For example, in an email that promises you millions, you should consider, what is shaping my approach to this situation? Do I assume the sender is telling the truth? Based on the evidence, is it logical to assume I'll win any money? 4. Consider the implications. Imagine it's election time, and you've selected a political candidate based on their promise to make it cheaper for drivers to fill up on gas. At first glance, that seems great. But what about the long-term environmental effects? If gasoline use is less restricted by cost, this could also cause a huge surge in air pollution, an unintended consequence that's important to think about.
Smart.
5. Explore other points of view. Ask yourself why so many people are drawn to the policies of the opposing political candidate. Even if you disagree with everything that candidate says, exploring the full spectrum of viewpoints might explain why some policies that don't seem valid to you appeal to others. This will allow you to explore alternatives, evaluate your own choices, and ultimately help you make more informed decisions. This 5-step process is just one tool, and it certainly won't eradicate difficult decisions from our lives. But it can help us increase the number of positive choices we make. Critical thinking can give us the tools to sift through a sea of information and find what we're looking for. And if enough of us use it, it has the power to make the world a more reasonable place.
Should I see what this one is about or not? I don't know.
I picked the software engineering program because they pay very well. It's a fast-paced industry. The boot camp allowed me to keep my job, honestly.
A 2014 survey of 400 employees showed that 91% of individuals believe critical thinking is an important part of being successful in the workplace. On the flip side of this, does this mean a lack of critical thinking could hinder your success in your job? Well, we're afraid so, Alux, sir. But don't worry, in today's video, we'll take a look at 15 ways to develop your critical thinking skills. So let's jump right in. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Number 1, question assumptions. There's no denying it. We assume quite a number of things as humans. We assume things about our workplace, about our relationships, and most importantly, about ourselves. A cheeky quote says, "When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me." While this might be quite a funny way to put it, it does ring true. Making assumptions reduces the chances of innovation, but when you question these assumptions, it spirals into an extensive critical thinking process, which more often than not tends to lead to innovative ideas. Questioning your assumptions helps you to critically assess everything you think you know, which in itself is a great tool for developing your critical thinking. Number 2, become self-aware. When you become more self-aware, it simply means you've become more aware of your values, your thought processes, your personality, and your morals. But did you also know that in becoming self-aware, you're simultaneously developing your critical thinking skills? That's right. As you objectively think about what defines your personality, your likes and dislikes, strengths and weaknesses, goals and dreams, you're honing your critical thinking skills.
Something I can definitely improve on is becoming more self-aware. I wouldn't say I know myself yet, but that's going to change.
Self-aware will also help you to see the need to develop those critical thinking skills. Number 3, adopt Ted Ed's 5-step process. In a 2016 video, Ted Ed outlined 5 steps that can help you develop critical thinking and solve different kinds of problems. The first step is to understand and formulate your question. Now, this simply means that you must understand the reason why you're making a certain decision, the why behind your critical thinking. At this point, it's equally as important to understand the biases and facts surrounding this decision. Next, you have to gather your information. This is basically an extension of the first process, but way more intensive. At this stage, based on your understanding of your question, you gather relevant information that could affect your decision. The next and most important step is application. Here, you've got to take action and apply everything you've discovered. At this point, you have to start thinking critically by asking important questions. What values and concepts have you now adopted? Are you being logical here? Have you made assumptions at any point? Your answers to these questions will help you find the underlying meaning behind your decision, which can, in a way, affect or reinforce your conclusions. Moving forward, the 4th step involves understanding the implications of your decisions. So take, for instance, you've decided to pay $1,000 for a business class. What are the implications of this action if things don't go according to plan? Aside from losing $1,000, what are the chances that this class will help you land a well-paying job? In making a decision, always strive to consider the long-term and short-term implications, as it'll help you to see things more clearly. And finally, you must explore other point of views before taking action. Your POV is simply one of many, so widen that view up. Number 4, evaluate your mental process. Fun fact, the human mind works just like a computer. It collects and processes information, and it can store this information for later use. Now that we've got a formula for how your mind works, doesn't this suggest that we can better understand the inner workings of our minds? Of course we can. You can study how your mind receives and processes information. That is how you react to certain situations. This understanding is a great way to become mentally efficient, and as you perhaps already guessed, mental efficiency is a necessary factor for critical thinking. Evaluating your mental processes also gives you the ability to properly analyze situations before making important decisions. Number 5, ask questions. When you're not too sure about something, when you don't particularly understand something, ask questions, Luxor. Asking questions is no doubt one of the best ways to get information. It could be from a person or a search engine, but what matters most is the fact you made an effort to learn, which in itself is necessary for critical thinking. However, it's not completely about asking questions, but what you do with the answer is equally as important. Do you take the answer at face value and question nothing, or do you accept the answer and investigate every bit of it? If you go with the second option, well, congratulations, you're on the path to developing strong critical thinking skills. Number 6, learn to investigate. At number 5, we mentioned the need to investigate answers, but here we're showing you how to properly investigate every bit of information you find. The first step is to identify and evaluate every existing evidence you can find. Have you been in this type of situation or challenge in the past? How did you react? What did the experience teach you? Next, collect and analyze data. And this is where you outline the facts of the situation and what each fact means for you. And finally, take action based on the conclusions from your investigations. Investigating situations, rather than acting on impulse, reduces your chances of making a poor choice. Instead, it sharpens your critical thinking skills while also helping you to make better decisions. Number 7, identify patterns. Patterns are everywhere. You just have to be willing to see them. You can get started by trying to notice patterns around you, around your home, around your workplace, even out with your friends. You can also identify patterns in your thought processes. Trying to identify these patterns is sort of a brain.
Alright, do y'all get what she's saying? Because I'm lost. This is why I do this, so I can get smarter, but just I hate that feeling. It makes me feel incompetent when I don't understand what's going on. I hate that feeling. But let's keep going.
Exercise. And since you have to look beyond the obvious to see these patterns, it naturally develops your critical thinking abilities. So next time you feel the need to exercise your mind, focus your attention on something specific and try to find interesting patterns. And remember, you don't always have to find patterns. The thought process is just as important. Number 8, be a daydreamer. According to a 2009 study at the University of British Columbia, the executive network, the region of the brain associated with focused problem solving, is also the area of the brain that lights up during daydreaming. When you daydream, you create new and complex worlds and interesting ideas. And usually when we daydream, it's to imaginatively solve a difficult problem that reality has put before us. You are stuck in traffic. Of course you daydream about having the ability to fly or being the fastest person alive. To constantly activate the executive network of your brain that improves critical thinking, this study suggests that you daydream as much as you can. So go ahead, Aluxer, spend some time creating fanciful situations and just see what that does for your critical thinking in the long term. Number 9, feed your mind. The human mind, just like the body in which it lives.
Hey, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do, is feed my mind with information to make me more competent. You know, I always said I wasn't creative enough to be a musician like a rapper, because I couldn't come up with double entendres and stuff like that, but I want to be a screenwriter. So what makes me think that I'm not competent enough to be a rapper, but I want to be a screenwriter? And with screenwriting, you could arguably argue that it's more complicated, and you gotta know a lot of stuff. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to learn.
Requires food to remain sharp. It's important we develop our imaginative abilities, but how do we do that? Well, for starters, reading stretches the boundaries of the mind. It kind of forces you to be imaginative. Have you ever read a fictional book
Trying
without
to read
some
books
sort
too.
of picture in your mind? That is your imagination at work. One other great way to feed your mind is through meditation.
These apples behind me might look the same, but that doesn't mean they are. Sometimes it's what you can't see that makes the biggest difference.
Meditation. This incredibly powerful and age-old
I
practice
can't really
is
get
an
into
interesting way to
meditation.
clear your mind and help you to manage your anxiety and stress. If your mind is constantly noisy, it naturally becomes very difficult to think critically, and this is where meditation can help silence the noise. Number 10, be open to other points of views. Earlier in the video, we mentioned exploring other POVs. How about we give that a closer look right now? Most times, arguments happen because we're not willing to accept a person's point of view. Sometimes we also suffer with internal conflict simply because we refuse to consider more than our own POV. Now, if you stick to just one point of view, you are robbing yourself of the chance to explore situations from other angles. And that's not all. You're also refusing a chance to learn more about a situation or a challenge. However, when you accept and analyze diverse points of view, you're embarking on a critical thinking journey, which places these POVs side by side and helps you to see the pros and cons of each one. So, by becoming open to diverse points of view, you are simultaneously improving your critical thinking skills. Number 11, learn to form your own opinions. One of the most important points of critical thinking is to teach you how to think on your own. Critical thinking aims at helping us to form our own opinions based on the information.
Something I definitely want to do, so I can give you all that better content. But
We've been able to collect. To form your own opinion, question your biases and assumptions. Constantly feed your mind. Think deeply and objectively about your values, strengths, and weaknesses, and write important things down, as this will help you to properly articulate your thoughts. Number 12, identify the problem. Off the top of our heads, we can list the benefits of critical thinking, and one of those core functions of critical thinking is problem solving. But before you can solve any problem, you have to take the time to properly identify it. And identifying a problem isn't just about knowing the exact problem you have to solve. It's also about looking at the problem from diverse perspectives and asking important questions. You can ask yourself stuff like, what is the cause of this problem? Why is it happening at this time? Am I making any assumptions here? What are the different ways I can solve this problem? By answering these questions, you're bound to have a better understanding of the problem and how you can build a perfect solution. Number 13, learn to accept criticism. Some would argue that criticism sucks. And, they have a couple of points, right? They can argue that criticism is an attack on our creative effort and it tends to demotivate a person. But come on, we know that criticism isn't a bad thing. In fact, accepting criticism is a quick way to get better at what you do. Instead of seeing constructive criticism as an attack on your work or your personality, learn to see it as an opportunity to identify loopholes in your work. If a loophole or mistake is discovered by a critic, would this mistake happen again? Definitely not. But accepting criticism is not all there is to it. It's just as important to reflect and understand the facts of the criticism, and this can only be achieved through critical thinking. Now, it's definitely safe to say that constructive criticism is a learning opportunity, right? Number 14, always self-evaluate. Self-evaluation is a tested and trusted way to find out if you've been biased in forming your opinions or making a decision. Self-evaluation is the process of holding yourself up for investigation. This helps you to identify your thought process, current values, and most importantly, it assesses your strengths and weaknesses and gives you insight into where you need to make improvements. This self-evaluation process requires a heavy dose of critical thinking and consistency, but at the end of it all, you'll be so glad you did it. Number 15, creative writing. There is a thin line between creative writing and critical thinking. And if you're super pumped about developing your critical thinking, then creative writing is definitely one more thing you should try. We all know what you're thinking. I'm not so good with writing stories or poems. Well, that's kind of the point here. You don't have to be the most talented creative writer, you just have to write. This is because creative writing helps your creative thinking. And yes, it's a great exercise to sharpen your critical thinking. So next time you want to sharpen your mind, try your hand at writing a story. Who knows, you might just be the next Nobel Prize winner for literature one day. And with that, Aluxer, time for a curtain call. We hope you gained some insights here today on how to become a better critical thinker. The great news is that these tips will work for everyone. You just have to be resilient and dedicated toward becoming that critical thinker you want to be. And for sticking with us all the way to the end of the video, of course, you're getting a bonus. Number 16. Remember that critical thinking takes practice.
Okay.
Becoming a critical thinker takes time, and it's important you always keep that in the back of your mind. Why? Well, sometimes your decisions might not eventually lead to success despite your critical thinking skills. We would love you to hold this quote to heart. Good things take time, but great things take a little longer. Hey, give yourself some time to get used to the process, and the results will be mind-blowing, Aluxer. And there you have it. Thank you for watching this video, Aluxer. If you found it valuable, consider subscribing to our channel and join.
That was good. That was good. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Socrates, one of the founding fathers of Western philosophical thought, was on trial. Many Athenians believed he was a dangerous enemy of the state, accusing the philosopher of corrupting the youth and refusing to recognize their gods. However, Socrates wasn't feared for claiming to have all the answers, but rather for asking too many questions. While he loathed formal lectures, the philosopher frequently engaged friends and strangers in lengthy conversations about morality and society. These discussions weren't debates, nor would Socrates offer explicit advice. In fact, the philosopher often claimed to know nothing at all, responding to his partner's answers only with further questions. But through this process, Socrates probed their logic, revealing its flaws and helping both parties reach a more robust understanding. These insightful questions made Socrates beloved by his followers. Two of his students, Plato and Xenophon, were so inspired that they replicated their mentor's process in fictional dialogues. These invented exchanges provide perfect examples of what would come to be known as the Socratic method. In one of these fabricated dialogues, Socrates is conversing with a young man named Euthydemus, who is confident that he understands the nature of justice and injustice. Socrates probes the student's values by asking him to label actions such as lying and theft as just or unjust. Euthydemus confidently categorizes them as injustices, but this only prompts another question. Is it just for a general to deceive or pillage a hostile army? Euthydemus revises his assertion. He claims that these actions are just when done to enemies, and unjust when done to friends. But Socrates isn't finished. He asked the young man to consider a commander lying to his troops to boost their morale. Before long, Euthydemus is despondent. It seems that every answer leads to further problems, and perhaps he's not quite sure what constitutes justice after all. In employing this question-oriented approach, Socrates described himself as a midwife, whose inquiries assist others in giving birth to their ideas. His method of questioning draws out an individual's unexamined assumptions and then challenges those biases. It doesn't always provide definitive answers, but the method helps clarify the questions and eliminate contradictory or circular logic. And by following a line of inquiry where it logically leads, both the question asker and answerer can end up in unexpected places. This technique isn't limited by the conversation's content, making it incredibly useful in numerous fields. During the Renaissance, the method was used to teach clinical medicine. Students proposed their rationale for different diagnoses, while a doctor questioned their assumptions and moderated discussion. In this model, the method could even produce conclusive results. This same approach was later used in other sciences, such as astronomy, botany, and mathematics. Following the Protestant Reformation, it was adapted to tackle abstract questions of faith. In the 19th century, the method became an essential part of American legal education. Professors explored students' understanding of judicial reasoning by challenging them with unforeseen hypothetical situations. This approach is still used today by the Supreme Court to imagine the unintended impacts of passing a law. The Socratic method can be adapted to teach almost any topic that relies on critical reasoning, but its success depends on the teacher employing it. An effective Socratic educator must be well versed in their subject. Rather than bullying their students or showing off their superior intellect, they should be modest, genuinely curious, and affirming of every contribution. In this regard, Socrates himself may not have been the most subtle Socratic teacher. Historians believe he was deeply critical of Athens' particular brand of democracy and known to pass those concerns on to his followers. These subversive beliefs were distorted in public forums and thought to have inspired two of his pupils to treasonous ends. It was likely for these ideas Socrates was brought to trial and eventually sentenced to death. But even on his deathbed, artists depict a serene philosopher, ever curious to explore the ultimate question. What was life like in Socrates' Athens? Travel back in time to 427 BCE and experience how an ancient democracy made its decisions.
As a con-
Well, guys, that was Critical Thinking Video 1. Let me know what you think, and this is your boy signing off.